Video probably should be titled Rants Before Revelations. So just get ready to strap on your seatbelts and get ready for this ride because this definitely should be titled Rants Before Revelations. Well, hi, my name is Linda Sutton of the Tutu Tango Show. I'm the host and the producer of the Tutu Tango Show. And I just got off of a Facebook Live where I was sharing with the audience kind of a preview of an upcoming book a series of books actually, that I'll be releasing in the upcoming weeks. And so it's a very, very exciting time here for, getting ready to prepare some collateral materials and, like I said, some classes for those books. But I wanted to get on here because one thing that I often get asked for, when I'm doing a series like this is what inspired you? Like, what made you come up with this concept, or how did this concept come to you? Like, it's so complete, it's so whole. Like, how did it come to you? How do you come up with this stuff? Is what people say, and I have to say it's like all the glory, hands up, and all the glory goes up to the Lord, because I really am a faith-driven, faith-inspired person, if you don't already know that about me. And so a lot of, what comes to me and has come through me over the years has been inspired in my quiet time, my prayer time, and my meditation time. So that is in part why I call this video, this particular segment is going to be called Rants Before Revelations, because that's usually how it unfolds for me. So usually when it's time for me to get ready to receive some new information, some new insights, some new a new program, or something that is a next level of mastery for myself, and therefore what I'm bringing to the world, it usually starts out with me having a rant of some sort, of me hollering, screaming, and kicking and ranting about a particular situation. And what that looks like for me is me just being frustrated and just kind of talking through it out loud. And so, so people say, you shouldn't talk to yourself. And I'm like, well, I guess to a person who doesn't know me, that might look like that. But no, it's just kind of the way that I process information. And so on this particular time, I was really, really frustrated because it was a time where I had some really high stakes things that were coming up in my life, and I just woke up one morning and I was preparing and I was trying to process and think about how to prepare for this, and I just woke up and it was just like ranting. I was just like, no more imposters, no more distractions, no more counterfeits. Like, I can't afford any more counterfeits. I can't afford any more distractions. I can't afford any more imposters at this point in the game, in this point in my career, in this point in my business, at this point in juncture, on this level of project. This is too high stakes a game. I cannot afford to make any more of those kinds of errors. And so the genesis for that particular moment of frustration was born out of the fact that I previously have made some really not strategic relationship decisions, both in my business life and in my personal life. And so I am twice divorced, and those two divorces were the most devastating points in my life. The second one took me 4 years to kind of rebuild my life from, after I kind of literally had to flee flee for my life, as it relates to the end of that relationship, and then kind of rebuild. And then my father passed away, and so it was another blow, and that I had to rebuild from. And so, these poor or not strategic relationship mistakes that I was making was costing me time, resources, opportunity, hard emotions. And so just knowing that bad relationship mistakes, for whatever reason, however they manifest, whether they were in business, whether they were in friendships, whether they were in my personal life, I was getting to a point where I had to come up with a way to not make those errors. And so, I started to reflect, and I was saying, okay, like, these relationship errors, once again, whether business or personal, how was I missing the red flags? How did I miss them? What do I need to do in order to make sure that I catch them, so that I catch them early, so that I can make more appropriate moves and govern myself accordingly based on the information that I was gathering. And so, I was just kind of racking my brain for how do I do that? How do I come up with this process for catching those mistakes? Because they say hindsight is 20/20, so you can always see it after everything is said and done. But what can I do differently on the front end? What kind of process or methodology or whatever could I do with myself to not miss those things, so that I could make decisions that were appropriate and proper, and make strategic relationship choices that would support my destiny and not my derailment. And so it was really, really intense to just kind of really go through that process. And so I was really struggling and really frustrated with how to come up with that. Well, usually in the morning I spend some time and some quiet, just kind of journaling, reflecting before I plan for my day. And I had a really, as I was coming to the end of my journaling, I had a really, really high stakes project that I was going to be working on, and I was preparing for it, and I was considering working with a gentleman on this extremely high stakes project, really, really high stakes project for me and my business and my work. And so, I was like really kind of thoughtful in terms of making some critical decisions around that project. How can I be more thoughtful as I enter into this interaction, this project, this partnership, this relationship? How do I do it? And especially since it was going to involve someone of the opposite sex, I really, really wanted to be really, really thoughtful about how to do that in a way that, number one, that I made the appropriate and right choice for this particular project, but also to ensure that I made a choice that would take the project to a new level of success. And so, I was thinking about it because I'd already been going through this kind of rant in my mind about imposters and counterfeits and distractions, and just really wanted to be deliberate about making sure I made the right choice, and that I'm making the right choices for my business and for my project, and even in my interactions in my life. Well, as I was going through this process, I was just like frustrated and still kind of ranting, like, oh, like, what do I do? And how do I approach this? And it's always wonderful when I hear the Lord, when I hear God chime in, and kind of has this, well, why don't you ask me moment. And it's so beautiful whenever I have those moments, because it really kind of takes my rants and makes them come to a screeching halt. And I love it because I don't know whether you want to call it a come to Jesus moment, because Lord knows Jesus sure comes to me whether that's a come to Jesus moment or whether Jesus is coming to me. I love when I'm having those moments where I can't figure out something, and his presence shows up, and he asks literally, well, why don't you ask me? And I love that. And so I'm like, oh, like, just like kind of stunned for a moment. Like, I guess, yes, since, I'm making destiny decisions, of course, why wouldn't I consult you? Why wouldn't I ask you? Like, duh. And then I love the wonderful response that I get whenever I'm in a real ranting phase. And he says to me, I thought you'd never ask. And one of the reasons that I thought you'd never ask fell on me differently this time is because it was like I was at the precipice of a real breakthrough. And I could hear it in the tone which I heard that response. I thought you'd never ask. And so during that kind of morning meditation prayer time, as I say, rant before revelations, I received revelation of how to prepare for that meeting, and was literally given 8 questions to ask in order to, as I was preparing that for that meeting, given 8 questions to ask during that meeting of this gentleman that would give me the insight that I needed to make the next decisions on how to proceed. And they came so quickly, and then once I had them in my meeting notes, I saw how complete they were, and I was like, oh my goodness, asking these questions at the start of any interaction, of any meeting, of any decisions on how to engage with someone and whether or not to involve them in a project, whether or not to involve them in the business, whether or not to involve them in my life, and whether it be personal or professional. When I saw the questions on the page, I was like, oh my goodness, like, where have these been all my life? I needed these questions all of my life. And so the tone of, I thought you'd never ask, revealed itself, because I realized in that moment what I was being given was an insight of the questions and approach to take that would keep me from going through a lot of the pain and heartache and the bad relationship choices that I had made in the past. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, here it is. At the start of an interaction, at the start of a relationship, these 8 questions are the questions that I need to ask, that I need to take into that encounter in order to know how to proceed and to make the decisions I need to make in order to have a successful relationship, or to dismiss or gracefully exit from that encounter. So very, very powerful for me. So I actually went into the meeting. I had my meeting notes, I had the questions, and I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like, I don't know how this person's gonna take it, but I knew that the asking of the questions and the weaving them into the conversation and was going to be critical to give me the information that I needed, the information that I was seeking, the information that I was asking for. So I was asking for information from the Lord about the situation, but also was given a process for how to ask questions so that I could really listen and hear, not only from the person, but from God and from my spirit on what I needed to do and how I needed to conduct myself in this interaction. Now that this person was in front of me, now that this person had crossed paths in my life, what was the information that I needed to gather? What did I need to hear? What did I need to be listening out for in order to know what to do? Whether I could hear it here in my ears from my conversation, whether I could hear it from my gut and my spirit, or whether I was hearing the information and the insights from the Lord as we were having the engagement. It was so fascinating because I heard as I was asking the questions, I heard information from all 3 sources that let me know how to proceed, and we were able to move forward and have a lot of success with this project. And so it was just an extraordinary. But what was even more profound and exciting is that now that I had that series of questions to ask, now as I started to interact with people both in business and personal, whether dating or potential suitors, how I would approach potential suitors, I had this series of questions, and I found ways to integrate them into my interactions in a way that it would give me the insights that I need to know whether or not I want to proceed with this person. In fact, it was so funny because as I started to kind of ask these questions, whether out loud or to myself during these interactions, I was able to start to catch those red flags that I used to miss in the past. I was catching those flags. I was hearing that information quick, fast, in a hurry, and my mind would latch onto it, and I was like, oh, okay. Okay, well, thank you very much. But I don't think, no, thank you very much. This has been wonderful. But I don't think I want to proceed. It has been a pleasure getting to know you or meeting you. But I don't think this is something that I want to pursue, or this is not in the best interest of the project, or this isn't a fit. And I was able to really catch them. And just, it was just amazing to start to hear my mind operating differently in my relationship interactions in a way that I was starting to avoid things, but also I started to get insight and start to hear who was okay to invite closer, and start to get insights not only on why to allow them closer, but why to allow them greater access to my world, and what was kind of the bigger picture. And so it is so exciting because it has completely changed and transformed the way that I engage with everyone that comes into my life, and also gives me a new listening for how I engage with the people that are already in my world. And so it's helped me to kind of reconfigure my circles of my inner circles, and my circles of influence, and my circles of relationship, in a way that was better suited for what I am called to do, what my purpose is, and has helped me in the first phase of making relationship decisions that coincide with destiny decisions. So I'm so excited that you're going to be not only introduced to this book that's coming up, but then some other goodies that are be coming out along with it. I'm so excited to share this process of how I came up with this book and how I came up with this process, and so looking forward to sharing it with you, so that you too can avoid the high cost of making those relationship mistakes, and know, once you've gone through this process, how to proceed, how to have successful relationships and avoid those relationship disasters, so that you can have the appropriate people that are designed and aligned to accompany you into your walk and journey of destiny. So looking forward to sharing more with you. Keep a lookout. I'm going to be sharing some links with you upcoming soon, about how you can get a copy of the book and get these 8 questions, so that you can start using them immediately, in order to start to understand who you should allow to have access into your life, and who you should make a graceful exit from, because they are not a fit for you and what you want to accomplish in God's purpose for your life, and fulfilling your destiny. This is Linda Sutton, the Tutu Tango Show author, going to be sharing these things with you. Be on the lookout for them, and I cannot wait for you to get a hold of these 8 questions in Who